people. So a little hiccup in our build. I got a cheat sheet because we took the E-Ride Pro apart. All we have left is the motor. All the switches on the handlebars, all that is gone. So we got the motor on a bike, and pretty much that's it. Now, all these people upgrading to Social Motor or other motors, all the Surround users, and I'm not pounding on them. I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying, here locally in New York City, we have a couple guys like Power of the Lithium, being represented by NYC, Mr. E NYC. Then we got JB360, cool dude, and somewhat, they try to kind of they try to give us information in regards of this, especially not necessarily JB360 does his own projects. They just, does it. But Mr. NYC, New York, Mr. E NYC, Jesus Christ. He hangs out a lot at Power Lithium, showing all these projects and things like that. And he purchased a Surround, and he's been updating the bike. Social controller, social motor, Power Lithium battery for like $2,700. I said 3,000. He said 2,750. Still lots of money, right? But he's the one that promotes the knowledge of how things are, and V from Power Lithium, he says all these things. Now, and that does pisses me off because I work on my own bikes. I'm not one of those guys that go to the shop and give them thousands of dollars and say just build my bike. Just retarded. Anyhow, so nobody ever said, and I've been riding electric bikes for years and years to come, and this is my first mid-drive motor that I'm using on my bike. As you know, that I purchased the E-Ride Pro last year, back in the summer, same day. Same season, right before the season, and I purchased it and I rode it. I had issues with charging the battery, which is pathetic. Oh my God, guys, how could that be even possible? Where I was riding and I want to charge the bike, and after riding for like 25 miles, and I was able to charge. The charger wouldn't let me to charge, right? And I know the battery wasn't hot or warm. Then next time I rode, I stopped by Bay Street, charging port for the cars. I stopped, plugged it in. I was at, I believe, 45%, charged it to 62, and then it stopped charging. Couldn't charge no more. I was heading out to the city, but since I wasn't fully charged, my goal was to fully charge, right? I wasn't able to charge. I had to go back home, plugged it in again. It didn't charge till the next day, okay? I'm sorry. I don't know what the fuck E-Ride Pro is thinking, right? So that was the second problem that I had. And the third problem was I went out on a ride, came back, plugged it in, wouldn't charge at all. Tried second day, the following day, didn't charge. The third day, didn't charge. Again, something was up, and my screen in the back stopped working. So there's lots of things. Long story short, right? I finally went, opened up the battery, rewired the battery, did what I had to do. Now this charges QS8, charges XT60, right? Anytime I plug in that battery, secondary battery, it always charges. No questions to ask. No down cooling time, nothing like that. Look, is it good? Not really. Is it bad? Well, not really. Especially if manufacturer like E-Ride Pro sets the sensor at 110 degrees, and every time the battery just gets a little bit warm, you can't charge it. That's it should be probably at about 180, because 100, like I believe 192 is like 100 Celsius, which the water boils. So we don't want to go that high. But your cutover is like 95 degrees. I'm sorry, 95 Celsius, right? Which is 100, whatever, 80 degrees, right? So your motor will be able to work at 180. If your motor doesn't get to 180, your battery's not going to get to 180. I mean, I've had my BTR battery getting really hot, and she's still charged up, no problem. I put it in front of a big commercial fan to cool off, and within 30 minutes, I was able to charge with the E-Ride Pro battery. Can't. Anyway, where am I going with this? So, I said, you know what? Since I already bypassed and rewired the original battery, because I also received secondary battery and one more after that. But anyway, so all three, I have like three, and one I bought from a guy that had it melted, and I fixed it, and so now I have four. So we sold two and I have two left. Anyway, so if you're looking for a battery, reach out Facebook. I'm on Facebook Market. Anyway, going back to the business. So since I redid the primary battery, all that, and I want to get rid of the stupidity for this season where I want to charge, I can't charge. I want to charge, let's say, with a different charger. I can't. I'm stuck with the original charger, which is $400 if something goes wrong, which I can't afford for it to go wrong in a season, because then I'm going to have to deal with what I'm dealing with right now, or I'm going to have to purchase a $400 or whatever $385 charger, which is ridiculous, because for about $160 I can get a charger from AliExpress that charges me 50 amps, not 10, not 15, but 50, right? Which I don't even think these batteries are going to be able to take that much. Probably 15, 20 at the max, right? So I'm looking here, and nobody, again, this more to the story. Nobody, right? New NYC, New York City, NYC, Mr. E, NYC. Nobody ever, JB3. Nobody ever said anything that the fucking bikes like Sur-Ron and E-Ride Pro, they use encoder motor. They use Hall sensor motor, encoder motor. Here's the difference, right? So encoder motor is a sensor of a mechanical motion which generates digital signal in response to motion. Okay, so that's the encoder. Now, why am I saying this? Why am I reading this? I'm reading this because I try to rewire the far driver, because I have a far driver, but it's a Hall sensor block, and it's a Hall sensor far driver. So all these guys, when they're doing all these upgrades, obviously they're upgrading the motors, which is Hall sensor motor, so they don't have this dilemma, right? I'm trying to stick with the original motor because apparently it picks up 14,000 kilowatt, and it's really good. Which, why change it if it's good? Next year Social Motor is going to be like $600, so fuck it. It's like E-Ride Pro. I pay for mine, let's say 54. Now this one is $43,000 less in a year and a half. So anyway, so it's a digital system, right? It's a digital signal that responds to a motion. Where a Hall sensor, right? A Hall sensor detects the position of the motor's rotor by measuring magnetic fields, okay? By controlling the motor's speed and direction. So it's not digital. Do you see what I'm saying? So the encoder is digital, okay? And this one is actually magnetic. So in reality, digital is more precise and better than magnetic. Go figure. That is interesting. So it's funny because the encoder sensor and the Hall sensor are actually two different sensors. So even if I was trying so hard to rewire the bar driver, that it did have a jitter. It had a jitter because the encoder sensor and Hall sensor are two different sensors. So I had it going, but it just wouldn't do auto learn, nothing like that, and it wouldn't spin. It would just jerk because couldn't locate the sensors. So if you look, you could actually get a far driver that has an encoder sensor rather than a Hall sensor, which is the same price. Here's the thing. Now with the Trump tariffs and all that bullshit, the the far driver, unfortunately, it's not really unfortunate. I don't want to be silly, right? Because I already have one 72-450, a Hall sensor one, right? Which again, nobody says encoder even exists. I heard about it, I knew about it, but damn, I thought it was used in like quads or ATVs or cars, which because that's where they usually use them because they're so sensitive and so touchy and so precise, unlike Hall sensor, right? So that's what I thought. Never assumed that they would use that on a regular mid-drive motor. If you look at AliExpress, they have encoders and Hall sensors, but the first motors that they promote is the Hall sensor. So you never look into encoder, and most of the file drivers are Hall sensors. So that would be the Hall sensor would be a 72, let's say 450, right? The encoder would be 72 450B, which stands for the encoder sensor. So the 72 450, it goes for like $127, $125. The encoder one, Hall sensor and encoder, they both go for the same price, to 127, 130, right? But you have to order the right one, right? Not me not knowing I had 72 450, which this is the one that actually swapped with Tony. So I know that 200 amp. It's a 200 amp DC continuous and 450 phase amps, right? So it's a decent controller, and I've seen it at work, and I was doing 60, and Tony was taking over. Later that day, I believe the battery started a little bit, giving a shutdown. But besides the point, so we had to order the encoder file driver. I wasn't able to rewire it where it would work. Digital versus Hall sensor magnetic. Two different technologies. So be careful when you do these projects. And you could ask me like, well, why would you buy an encoder or controller when you have Hall sensor controller? Because at this moment we're not changing the motor. If we're going to change the motor let's say, okay, so what would you do, right? Would you spend $130 and change the controller, or spend $800 and change the motor, right? So I want to go for the less expensive thing where I can do the season, and motor's a motor. As long as you don't overheat it, she's okay. So that's why I made that decision where I'm buying the controller, the encoder, rather than the motor. So I'm going to continue with the eRide Pro motor and do it that way. Now I could go back to QS motor, right, mid-drive, like it is right now in the eRide Pro, and just buy the encoder version, right? Not the Hall sensor version. But I'm in the same position. I have the same motor. I haven't upgraded. So why why have two motors, right? Yeah, I can put it on Facebook Market and sell the mid-drive and with the controller, encoder controller, and everything's going to match like a music. But who wants to do that, right? We don't want to do that. So no, we're not buying a mid-drive for QS motor. We're buying the encoder file driver. It is coming soon, I believe, in about a week or so. And we are going to wire that in, okay? So I will have to register that one and all that. I'm not going to shoot a video because you guys know how to register the file driver and all that good stuff. But we are going to have to rewire the headlights, rewire the horn, rewire the tail lights, and horn. That's about it. So it's not much. We did power up the bike and the file driver with the QS8 bypass wire on the primary battery from eRide Pro. Works fine. I will put a fuse, right coming off of the file driver. So God forbid. That's that, and we are going to see how it's going to work after a couple of charges and discharges, because we know the last time we did that with the secondary battery, it was only giving us 21 miles in range, and that was giving us back to 30 miles in range, right? So that battery is going to be available for sale. And we also gotta check how this rewiring is gonna go. We're gonna try to make it nice and clean. Goal is to use the same ignition, use most of the same components, which is the USB and all that. See how that goes. And the last thing to do would be to put the battery into use and see how she discharges and charges and how she's going to charge out in the field. Eventually, quickly, just to tell you guys, I'm looking at Chai battery, the 72 volt, 60 amp hours. Correct, 60 amp hours. That battery, I believe, puts out 250 DC amps. So I don't need anything bigger than that. 350 is a little bit too much of exaggeration. Again, I see people on YouTube, having these file drivers 72, 680, 860, crazy power, but they're only pushing 200, 300 amps. I'm hoping eventually going to go to that promise, 500 amps and see what they do. But I've seen people with 200 amps do, 75 miles an hour. So you really don't need much of, juice. You just need good battery that good discharges very well. So, but we're not purchasing battery for torque and top speed. I am mainly purchasing battery for distance. Okay, 60 amp hours. It's a promising number. I mean, I wish I could go 70, but we'll go with 60. So eventually, we're gonna get the Chai battery, and we're gonna go with that. And I'm hoping this season, if not this season, definitely the following season. I have to move all these batteries that I have. Once I get rid of all these batteries, I'll be able to just reach out to Chai. Their waiting time is 4 to 6 weeks, which is a lot. So that's a season. So probably we might end up doing this in off season time, where we just get the battery, we plug it in. Beautiful. We're gonna do QS8, not 10. We do QS8. 10 is a little overkill. I see lots of guys dingling with the fucking QS10 connector. Yeah, it's great. It's huge. It's good for multi cells, but not for 2100 or 21700, 21700, 21700 Samsung batteries. That's what Pro uses. It doesn't need that huge of a discharge protection. So we'll do that. And I've noticed one thing. I don't know if you guys noticed. Probably whoever took out the bike apart. We took out the fuse from the E-Ride Pro, right? Like surround and all that, same fuse. Now I noticed that fuse is only 100 amps. Okay. The controller for E-Ride Pro SS 2.0 is 150 amps. So here's my thing that I've noticed. If the fuse is 100 amps, the controller is 150 amps, you can't go above 100 amps because the fuse is gonna blow. Pretty much is just gonna reset. So I'm thinking that the E-Ride Pro is running at 100 amps, okay, and we can put it as far now as 200 amps, and I will put 180 amps. And I've seen my Stealth Bomber hit 200 amps. I've seen my Stealth Bomber hit 270. Crazy. And what was I running? I was running Kelly controller, which is 310 phase amps. So okay, see, possible. Again, that's what phase amps do. They kind of like double your amps, which is awesome. So imagine on the file driver here, 480, you got 200 amp DC and 480 phase amps, which is good. More power. That is kind of like cheating on the system, right? Double the amps, double the power. So we did change the spark to 48 too. So hopefully we get better speed with this new setup. So now what we're waiting for, and you guys should stick around, so subscribe and notification set for you, because we are going to go Excuse me. We're gonna go and we're gonna have a far driver. We're gonna have E-Ride Pro battery, and damn, my throat got irritated talking too much. So you got the battery, you got far driver, and you got the original motor with 48 tooth sprocket. So stick around and see what speed we're gonna get. We are going to probably put out 150 amps from first time and I'm sorry, 450 phase amp. We want to do that, and we're gonna mess around with the tuning, a real tuning. We're not gonna just change one thing. We want to change a couple of things. Yeah, so stick around because you guys need to see how this is gonna operate. And again, the worries are over because I can charge whatever I want. So that orange charger that I have is only for 110 volts. E-Ride Pro chargers for 110 and 240. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get probably a different charger where it's gonna go and charge up to 20 amps, and we're gonna get that for 220 with the EU plug because we have an adapter. So we're gonna go with that, and we're gonna be able to charge it at 20 amps. Anyway, so it's a long story. There's a lot happening. We'll get it next week, the far driver, and we'll continue from there. And slowly we're gonna start developing the wiring situation, all that. I'm not doing any LED lighting, nothing like that. Just plain, brake light, headlight, horn. That's it, done. Thumb throttle, and that's it. Nothing else. So stick around. Make sure you don't go nowhere because this is going to get very interesting. If people want to mess around with the E-Ride Pro, this is the challenge to go. All right, later. Be safe, guys.